Greetings, farm stand friends. My name is Jim Baum. I'm with Marin Community Farm Stands, and today I'm with Bonnie Bollinger and Gary Morse from Bonnie B and Company, and we're gonna meet them today and talk a bunch about all the good work they're doing in Marin County. I know that Bonnie and Gary started how many years ago now?
Bonnie B and Company started 4 years ago.
4 years ago, with just maybe a few hives, and now I think you guys have over 300 hives throughout the county.
We have about 250 right now.
250 hives, and they're all based on treatment-free bee keeping practices, which we're going to learn a bunch about today. We'll check back in.
Marin.
Can you see her?
Oh yeah.
She's longer.
And you won't be able to see this, Jim, in your tape, but I can see her eggs in some of these
You
cells.
see her, Jim?
Yeah. I'm just taking stills.
Now show me again, which one is the queen?
That's her right there. And she moves like a bulldozer.
All right.
She just pushes all the girls out of the way. See, and she's looking for cells that she can lay her eggs in. And she actually will measure the cell to determine whether or not it's a fertilized egg that she's going to lay or a drone unfertilized egg, dependent upon the size of the cell. The bigger cells are for the drones, smaller for the girls.
Now, by pulling back that, these are called what you're pulling
Frames.
out. These frames.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how gentle these bees are, because you're coming with that little claw and
Yeah, so this is her. You can see here. This is all her brood here. So this is all the bees that are pupating. And there's pollen here. You can see different colors. So they're collecting lots of different things right now.
amazing.
So, as we've told you, we've grafted off of queens that have not been medicated and are a couple of years old,
At least.
and we call them survivor queens because it's more and more difficult to get queens to live that long now.
What are the variables that are...
That's the cup that I
Causing them to die off?
Yeah.
The biggest problem is the varroa mite, and the varroa mite actually breeds in the capped cells, and it's all over the world now. That's the biggest problem of beekeepers is the varroa mite. So we're looking for bees that have naturally been able to work their cells hygienically to take the varroa mites out by uncapping the cells. And
They do other things too, but basically just bees that are doing something to help control the varroa mites on their own without us having to medicate them or add chemicals to the hive.
so they grow inside the capped brood, and then when they come out, they attach themselves to the bees as like leeches, and they're vectors of viruses as well. So that's where the big problems come in.
Inside
Yeah.
here, not too much nectar here, but usually that's right inside where that capping is. And look at this then, Jim, you got pollen, and then inside that is where the brood is. So that's a beautiful distribution of brood and food on that frame.
Beautiful. But the queen actually is laying from 800 to 2,000 eggs a day her whole life.
Amazing.
Is the commercial beekeepers ship them by post or by UPS. And when they're in transit, the temperature change can be so dramatic that the viability of the queen is reduced substantially. So that's why this type of raising of queens in their own nucleus environment is working so much better for us in terms of that's beautiful survival. Wow.
Yeah, these girls are just packed. That's beautiful. Gorgeous.
And they're calm.
Yeah, and they're calm.
And the other thing, if you're looking at a frame like that, when those hatch out, that equates to 3 frames. So you can see how quickly a hive can boom in
to
springtime.
grow, yeah.
Gorgeous.
It's amazing.
That's a bee balm.
That's a bee balm. So you see the lack of the pollen and the nectar and the honey on the outside edges because she's just going to town.
Gosh, that is gorgeous. I love it.
And this is what I love to do with kids, is put them in my hand. If you want me to put it in your hand, I will, Jim.
Sure, that's a.
This is your drone.
What, how I don't have another hand to put on top.
No, just kind of close it up. There you go. You're holding a bee.
And if I let him go, he'll fly away. How'd you grab him when you grab him? By the wing?
Pick him up by the back there. There he is.
Amazing.
He's saying, I want more honey. Get back in there. Okay.
So this is a young female?
Mm-hmm.
And what indicates that her age?
The amount of hair on her body will give you an indication. Looks like she's got a little fur coat on there.
And so the more fur?
The younger they are. As they get older, they start losing that. And the foragers, we'll show you later on, have a great deal less. Life of a bee during the summer is 6 weeks. First 3 weeks are the worker bees working inside, cleaning cells, feeding the larvae, and working inside. Then after around the 3rd or 4th week, they come out and they become foragers to go out and get the pollen and nectar for the hive. So they'll do a orientation flight out in front of the hive the first day, orientating to the sun and landmarks. Then the next day they'll follow the lead of another bee that tells them where the nectar and pollen is, and they'll go forage for the food. Tom Seeley, who's written a number of books, and he came and visited us and taught us some of the signals that the bees give each other. And recently they've come up with a new understanding as to signals, which is really exciting. And that is, everybody has a tendency to know the bees will signal where the pollen and the nectar is. Sometimes the pollen and nectar flow is too much for the hive to be able to take advantage of it. So the foragers are bringing in so much supply that there's not enough space to take it in, or enough workers to take it from them. So there's a bee that comes along and actually butts its head up against the dancer and says, stop. Stop telling them where to go. We can't take it. It's too much. And they reorientate themselves as a organism, and some of the foragers become workers to maintain and process that's coming in. So they can revert back to doing the job that they did before. If we could only do that with our society. So she sticks her little rear end up. There's a little pink that comes out, and that's the gland sending out the smell of the hive. So when the girls, these are worker bees, are around the queen, they're actually taking their antennas and their tongues and they're touching the queen, which gives them that scent of the pheromone, and then they pass it around to everybody else in the hive. So that you see bees touching each other, and they're taking that pheromone smell and spreading it around the hive, and it's dual purpose. It gives the whole hive a smell. So the guard bees in the front, when the bees are coming in,
they know that
these
welcome.
Bees belong here. And then also, if the queen is starting to get weak, her pheromone smells weaken. And then they start realizing we got a problem here, so we're going to have to, what they call, supersede her, create a new queen. And then when this queen passes on, we'll already have another queen ready to take over.
And they swarm when that's one.
No,
one
they don't swarm on a supersedure. They just replace the queen.
Swarming is reproduction, doubling their hive. Supersedure is just replacing their queen so that they can continue on.
And the best way to replace the queen,
is to take a 1-day-old larva and feed it royal jelly.
And how does that happen naturally and without these?
They choose that.
Oh, they
Yeah, they choose that. They know. I mean, they know
Now
that.
you can see this. I don't know if you can get that close, but these girls are passing on. They were touching each other with their tongue. Right here, see these three that are interacting with their tongues? They're doing just that. They're passing on the smell. And this one just realized that this one doesn't belong here, so it's shooing it off. So that's how they communicate with each other. Now, see, these are darker. It would seem that this hive, is predominantly dark, is not allowing these lighter colored ones, which are probably coming from that hive, to come in. And they all
Right.
immediately start going, ah, yes, she's not one of us. Move.
Gary, I have 4 right now. Do you want more?
That's fine if that's
I've
all.
still tried to make it in, but nope, no luck. Great story, Gary.
Well, this is a indication of a hive that died.
Or
And
they
was
they
robbed
drifted.
out.
Like maybe they didn't have viable queen cells. Queen didn't return. They drifted. Whatever. You know, lots of things could happen. But that's all right. This is a valuable resource in and of itself. The comb. Now we can share that with other colonies.
When Bonnie says it's a valuable resource, it takes 9 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax.
I see.
So when
Especially
we
in a
have
drought year, that's like gold.
frames of what we called pulled out wax cells, then we have a viable resource for the bees because they don't have to make this. We can put this into a hive and it gives them a jump start.
So these are getting prepared for extraction.
Well, the honey is getting prepared. The bees are going to lose a little bit of their honey. Now, in harvesting honey, you always want to be sure you're leaving the bees enough honey for their needs. An average hive here in Marin for overwintering needs approximately 30 pounds of honey, which is the equivalent of one of these boxes full of honey. So we would never take more than that from the hive.